He noticed her before she said a word, not because she wanted to be noticed, but because she moved like someone trying not to disturb the air around her. It was late. The cafe was closing, lights dimmed to a honeyed glow, chairs turned upside down on empty tables. She was the last to leave, but she didn't rush. She sat by the window, the rain tapping lightly against the glass, both of them pretending not to look at each other. He was new here, helping out part-time after college, learning the rhythm of plates and coffee cups and small talk. But every night she came in, it was like the whole place slowed down. She always ordered the same thing, black coffee, no sugar. She would stir it once, even though there was nothing to dissolve. That night, when he brought her cup over, her hand brushed his by accident. It was nothing, really, just a touch. But it stayed with him longer than it should have. Her fingers were cool, her voice quiet, almost tired. "Thank you," she said. He nodded. "You're welcome." But it came out softer than he meant. There was something about her stillness that unsettled him. Most people filled silence with words. She seemed to listen to it. When she finally spoke again, her tone carried both distance and warmth. "You're new here." "Yes." "Do you like it?" "I think so. It's peaceful when it's quiet like this." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Peaceful can be dangerous. You start hearing things you've been trying to forget." He didn't know what to say to that. She looked away first, but the moment stretched, held between them like the space between two pages in a book. Outside, the rain thickened. He watched her fingertips trace the rim of her cup, as though she were trying to feel something through the porcelain, maybe warmth, maybe memory. There was a kind of quiet understanding between them, though they had barely exchanged 10 words. He found himself studying the details, the faint line between her brows when she thought, the way she exhaled before answering. She carried herself like someone who had once known how to laugh freely, but had learned to keep it to herself. When she stood to leave, she hesitated, glancing toward the counter where he stood drying glasses. For a second she seemed about to speak, then she simply smiled, small and tired, like she was forgiving him for something he hadn't done yet. "Good night," she said. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Just a nod. She pushed the door open, and the soft jingle of the bell marked her exit. The smell of rain drifted in, mingled with the faint trace of her perfume, something floral, faded, like a memory of spring. He turned back to the counter, heart unsteady for no reason he could explain. It was just another customer, another night. Then he saw it, her scarf, left draped over the chair. A deep gray wool, still warm where her hands had been. He picked it up slowly, the fabric damp with rain, and glanced toward the door. She was gone. But outside, through the rain-streaked glass, he caught a glimpse. She had stopped at the corner, looking back at the cafe. Just once. Long enough for their eyes to meet through the blur of water and light. And then, a car passed, headlights flashing, and she was gone. The next evening she returned, though she hadn't meant to. She stood outside the cafe for a long moment before stepping in, pretending to check her phone, pretending not to search for him. He was there, arranging chairs, sleeves rolled up, the faint scent of roasted coffee in the air. When he noticed her, surprise flickered across his face, quickly followed by something else. Something he tried to hide. "You forgot this," he said, holding out her scarf. Her eyes softened. "So I did." Their hands met briefly as she took it. The fabric was cool now, but when their fingers brushed, the memory of warmth returned. For a moment neither moved. The cafe was empty except for them. Rain whispered against the glass again, softer this time. "You didn't have to keep it," she said, folding the scarf neatly. He shrugged. "Didn't feel right to throw it away." Her gaze lingered, just a heartbeat longer than polite. "You're kind." He laughed quietly. "Or maybe just curious." The smile that touched her lips was fragile, the kind that carried both amusement and caution. "Curiosity can be dangerous," she murmured. He wanted to ask why, but he didn't. Instead, he poured her coffee, black, no sugar, and slid it toward her. She took it without breaking eye contact, and for a second the air felt too still. She told him, slowly, about her work, teaching literature, how words had stopped feeling like companions and had become reminders instead. She mentioned a husband only once, in the past tense, and the silence that followed said more than the words ever could. He didn't press. But he felt the edges of her loneliness, the quiet shape of it, like a room she lived in every day. She noticed him noticing, the way his attention lingered when she spoke, the way he straightened whenever she reached for something. He didn't mean to look, but he did, at her hands, her eyes, the faint line of exhaustion beneath grace. Once, as she leaned closer to see a passage in the book he'd left open behind the counter, her shoulder brushed his. He froze. The scent of her, subtle, familiar, wrapped around him before she pulled back. "Sorry," she said, almost whispering. "It's fine," he managed, though his pulse disagreed. The rain had stopped that evening, but the air still carried its quiet weight. The cafe was busier than usual, laughter at one table, the scrape of chairs, the clink of cups. Yet even in the noise he could sense when she arrived. She didn't look at him right away. She never did. But he felt her presence before he saw her, like the hush that comes just before a storm. He brought her coffee to the table without a word. When their eyes met, something unspoken passed, a question, a warning, maybe both. "Busy tonight," she said, voice calm, but her fingers tapped lightly against the cup. "Yeah," he replied. "You almost didn't come." "I almost didn't," she admitted. Their gazes held, and for a moment, the sounds of the cafe faded into nothing. Then the bell above the door jingled again, and a voice broke the spell. "Hey! You're still here?" It was his friend from college, loud and smiling, waving a phone in his hand. "You forgot your bag, man." The older woman turned slightly, polite, composed, but her shoulders stiffened just enough for him to notice. "Right," he said quickly, forcing a grin. "Thanks." His friend's eyes flicked between them, curious but not quite suspicious. "Didn't know you had company." I was just leaving," she said at the same time. Her tone was gracious, almost casual, but her eyes avoided his. When his friend finally left, the silence he left behind was sharp. She exhaled slowly. "You should be careful." He frowned. "Of what?" "Of what people see when they don't understand what they're looking at." He wanted to tell her there was nothing to see, but even as he thought it, he knew it wasn't true. Later, after closing, she lingered again. The cafe was half dark, chairs stacked, music soft from the backroom speaker. He was wiping down the counter when she came closer, her steps quiet, almost uncertain. "Sorry about earlier," he said. "You don't have to apologize. I don't like pretending." She smiled faintly. "Then don't start something that will make you have to." Her words hit softly but sank deep. He looked up, and she was closer than before, close enough that he could see the reflection of the low lights in her eyes. A pause. A breath. The world holding still. She reached out, brushing a small crumb from his sleeve, a meaningless gesture, but his heart stumbled anyway. Her fingers lingered for just a second too long before she pulled away. He stepped forward before thinking, their distance closing to inches. Her hand hovered between them, unsure whether to stop him or steady herself. "Don't," she whispered. It wasn't command, it was plea. "I'm not doing anything," he said, voice barely sound. But he was, standing too close, breathing the same air, his heartbeat loud enough for her to hear. Her gaze fell to his lips, then back to his eyes, a flicker, a surrender, a retreat. And then the phone on the counter buzzed. She stepped back instantly, as if the sound had broken a spell. He looked down, a message from his friend, harmless, ordinary, but when he looked up again, she was already near the door. "Good night," she said, steadier than she felt. He didn't answer, just watched her go, his hand still on the counter, the space between them pulsing with everything that hadn't happened. Outside, her reflection lingered in the glass, close enough to touch, but already fading. The night came heavy with summer heat, the kind that clings to the skin and makes silence feel alive. The cafe lights were dim, a single fan stirring the air. He was closing up when she walked in, her expression unreadable, her hair slightly undone by the wind. "You're late," he said softly, though he hadn't expected her at all. "I know," she replied, setting her bag down. "I shouldn't have come. But you did." That landed between them like a challenge. She looked away, folding her arms, a small, futile barrier. "It's not fair, what we're doing." He frowned. "We're just talking." Her eyes met his, sharp, tired, too honest. "You know it's not just that." The words cut through the air, and neither of them dared to move. He wiped his hands on a towel, trying to steady himself. "Then tell me what it is." "It's a mistake," she whispered. "One I keep repeating." He took a step closer. "You came back." "I shouldn't have." "But you did." Her breath caught. The repetition, the quiet insistence, it was too much. She turned, pretending to reach for her scarf, but he was already there, his hand brushing hers. The contact sent a current through both of them. "Don't," she said, but her voice trembled. He leaned in, not touching her, just close enough for his voice to find her ear. "You don't believe that." She closed her eyes. "You're too young to understand what this costs." "Then make me understand." When she opened her eyes again, something inside her had cracked, not broken, just split enough for truth to escape. "I've been alone longer than I'll ever admit. I told myself I was fine, that quiet was peace. But you—" her voice faltered. He waited, heart pounding, afraid to breathe. "You make it feel like noise again," she said finally. "And I don't know how to live with that." The confession hung between them, raw, irreversible. He reached up, almost without thinking, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. Her eyes fluttered closed, her breath unsteady. The world outside faded. There was only this: the warmth of his hand, the nearness of her skin, the faint tremor of restraint. He could smell rain again, though the night was dry. "Say something," she whispered. He stepped closer, his voice low. "If I say it, we can't go back." "Maybe we already can't," she murmured. He tilted his head, their foreheads nearly touching, her breath warm against his lips. For one suspended heartbeat, everything, every fear, every rule, disappeared. Then a knock at the door. Sharp, sudden. They froze. Through the glass, a silhouette, the cafe owner, fumbling for keys, calling his name. She stepped back instantly, her hand flying to her mouth. "You have to open it." He didn't move. "Wait, now," she said, almost breaking. The spell shattered. The moment gone. By the time he turned the key and greeted the intruder, she had already slipped out the back door, her scarf left behind again, fluttering where she dropped it. He stood there in the doorway, her words echoing in his head. "You make it feel like noise again." And for the first time, he didn't know whether that was a gift or a warning. The next day, the cafe felt wrong, brighter, colder, too full of space. He kept glancing at the door, expecting her to appear. She didn't. By evening, he gave in and sent a message, a small one, simple: "You left your scarf again." No reply. Hours passed. The cafe emptied. He was closing up when the bell above the door chimed, and she was there. Her eyes looked different tonight, tired, yes, but also certain. "You shouldn't have written," she said quietly. "I just thought that someone wouldn't notice." Her tone wasn't unkind, but it hit hard. "I didn't tell anyone," he said quickly. "You didn't have to. Someone saw us." The air stilled. "Who?" he asked. "It doesn't matter. It was enough." She exhaled, fingers tightening around her bag strap. "I teach one of the owner's daughters. He called me this morning. Asked if it was true." His throat went dry. "What did you say?" I told him no. Silence stretched, heavy, suffocating. "You lied," he said finally. She nodded once. "To protect us." He stepped closer, voice unsteady. Or to end it. She didn't answer, but the tremor in her hands betrayed her. She set her bag down on the counter, as if the weight of it had become too much. I can't afford whispers, not again. He frowned. Again? She closed her eyes. When my marriage ended, there were stories. About me, about him, about who left whom. I learned the only way to survive is to give people nothing to talk about. And what about what you want? Her eyes snapped open, raw and shining. I can't want you. He stood there, still, trying to steady his breath. The distance between them felt unbearable, not physical, but made of everything she refused to say. She moved to leave, brushing past him. He caught her wrist, gently, but enough to stop her. Then tell me you don't think about it, he said. Her pulse jumped beneath his fingers. She didn't pull away. You don't understand, then make me. He stepped closer, too close. Her breath grazed his collarbone, his thumb still pressed lightly against her pulse. Let go, she whispered. He did, but neither of them moved. For a long moment they stood in that fragile stillness, their bodies saying everything their words couldn't, his shaking hands, her shallow breaths, the faint tremor in the space between them. Finally she looked up, eyes fierce, uncertain, alive. You shouldn't make this harder. He almost laughed, but it broke in his throat. You already did. The truth hung there, heavier than either of them wanted. She stepped back, gathering her bag, her voice lower now. I'll be gone for a while. School trip. How long? A week. Maybe 2. Will you come back? Her pause was long, deliberate. Then, a faint, impossible smile. Do you want me to? He didn't answer, but his silence told her everything. When she left, he watched her go, the door swinging shut, the scarf still lying on the counter. He picked it up again, pressed it to his chest, and for the first time, realized he might not want her to come back, because if she did, either of them would be able to pretend anymore. The cafe stayed closed that week. Rain came and went, the world moved, but he couldn't. Every evening, he found himself unlocking the door anyway, sitting at her table, the untouched cup in front of him, the scarf folded neatly beside it. When she finally returned, he almost didn't recognize her at first. She looked rested, lighter somehow, until she saw him. Then all that careful distance vanished in a heartbeat. I thought you'd be gone by now, she said quietly. I tried. It wasn't accusation, just truth. She hesitated, then stepped inside, closing the door behind her. The sound echoed softly in the empty room. I shouldn't have come back, she murmured. He smiled faintly. You've said that before? And I meant it every time. They stood facing each other, two people who had run out of excuses. He spoke first. You lied to protect us. But it didn't protect me. Her gaze dropped. You think this doesn't hurt me too? Then why keep fighting it? The air thickened, every word drawing them closer. She moved around the counter, slowly, carefully, as if testing gravity. I'm not who you think I am, she said. You see me through what you need, not what's real. I see you because no one else does, he said. Her breath caught. She reached out, just a touch at first, her fingers grazing the side of his face, then lingering, tracing the edge of his jaw as if memorizing it. He closed his eyes, leaning into the contact. Tell me to stop, she whispered. He didn't. Instead, he opened his eyes, the distance between them now no more than a breath. If I do, will you listen? She almost smiled. Probably not. Her laugh broke something open, small, fragile, beautiful. Then the silence returned, heavy and waiting. He reached up, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. She didn't move away. His thumb lingered near her cheek, her skin warm beneath it. She exhaled slowly, the sound trembling. I don't want to ruin your life, she said. You already changed it, he answered. That was the truth, simple, unpolished, irreversible. She stepped forward, until his back met the counter behind him. Her hand rested against his chest, feeling the uneven rhythm there. His breath came shallow. Her voice barely existed. "This can't last," she said. "I know." "Then why are you still here?" "Because I don't want to forget what this feels like." For a long second, they hovered there, suspended between what they wanted and what they feared. Her forehead touched his, light as a sigh. He could feel the warmth of her breath against his mouth. It would have taken nothing, just one heartbeat of courage, for the world to change. But she pulled back, eyes shining, lips parted but unspoken. "We'll regret it," she whispered. He nodded. "Maybe. But at least it would be ours." Her hand fell away, slow, deliberate, leaving heat where her touch had been. "I can't," she said, barely audible. "I know," he replied. They looked at each other one last time, not as strangers, not as lovers, but as two people who had finally stopped pretending. And in that quiet understanding, everything between them became clear, fragile, forbidden, and completely real. Days passed quietly after that night. No messages. No visits. Just the rhythm of ordinary life pressing on as if nothing had happened. He tried to tell himself it was over, that the silence was closure, but every sound reminded him of her. The scrape of a chair, the clink of a cup, the way the light hit the window in late afternoon. Every small thing held her ghost. Then one evening she returned. No rain this time. Just the slow hush of dusk falling outside. She walked in without hesitation, without pretending it was by accident. "You're still here," she said softly. "Where else would I be?" Her smile was small, tired, but real. She looked around the cafe, the empty tables, the quiet hum of the fridge, the scent of coffee and dust. "I thought about this place the whole time I was away." He poured her coffee before she asked, black, no sugar. The sound of it filled the silence between them, familiar, comforting, almost sacred. "I kept the scarf," he said. "I know. You left it on purpose." "Maybe." Their eyes met across the counter. This time, either looked away. She reached for her cup, but her hand trembled slightly. He covered it with his own, steadying her. The contact was simple, no heat, no rush, just presence. "I was afraid," she admitted. "So was I." "What changed?" "Nothing," he said. "Except that missing you felt worse than being scared." Her laugh came out as a breath. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Then don't make me mean them." She looked at him for a long moment, the kind of look that sees all the mistakes, the difference in years, the unfixable timing, and chooses, anyway. Slowly, she came around the counter, stopping close enough for their shoulders to almost touch. The nearness felt easier now, quieter, no longer stolen. "I can't promise anything simple," she said. He smiled faintly. "Good. I've never liked simple." She exhaled, the sound a mix of relief and surrender, and stepped into him. He didn't move, just let her rest her forehead against his chest. The rhythm of his heartbeat filled the space between words. Her arms found their way around him, hesitant at first, then certain. He held her gently, his chin brushing the top of her head. There was no urgency now, no fear of being seen, only stillness, finally shared. "I don't know what happens next," she whispered. "Then we'll find out together." She nodded, eyes closed, a faint smile touching her lips. "You'll regret this someday." "Maybe," he said. "But not tonight." They stayed like that as the light dimmed, two silhouettes framed in the soft glow of the cafe, the world outside slipping quietly past. When she finally looked up, he kissed her forehead, light, unhurried, full of everything they hadn't said. The moment didn't need words. It was enough.